All right, we are trying this one more time. And thank you guys for your patience. I hope you can hop on again. And if not, we're going to leave this up so everyone can watch it later. Okay. Awesome. All right, we have Simone. Sweet. Awesome. I'm just going to wait one more time for Lucio, and then we'll get started. Thanks for bearing with me, guys. Technical difficulties, but at least I have internet in my new house. Thank goodness. Alrighty. Yay, everyone's hopping back on. Awesome. Awesome, awesome. Wait. Just waiting for my bud. Yay! Okay. I just added you. See if it works. Okay.
Hey!
Oh my gosh!
Oh my gosh, look at that. We did it! You did it!
Same computers.
Hello!
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I'm so excited. So thank you guys all for coming on. This is Embracing Change, Empowered Living with my friend Lucio.
Hey!
So basically, okay, so I'm Bernadette. I'm the owner of Doll Yoga Wear, and I'm also a yoga teacher. And this is Lucio, and I'll let you kind of introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. I am so excited to be talking to Bernadette and everybody on Facebook Live. Bernadette is someone that I've known for, oh my gosh, a few years now. But ever since I've known her, she's always been so supportive and so loving and so kind. And she's like one of my own sisters. So to be here with her today and see all that she's done, I am honored and privileged to be joining you this morning. Joining you so early. Not really, but it feels good.
Thank you. Well, I'm very, very honored to have you. And I have to say, when I was, I like had this idea in my mind for like months and months, and then I only talked to you about it a couple weeks ago, but I was like basically playing. Okay. So, and like tell us just a little bit about what you're doing right now, and stuff like that.
Yeah, so excuse me, I've been in LA for about a year and 3 months. I'm an actor, and part of what I do on the weekends is I work with youth. I'm an acting coach. So when I supplement my time on the weekends, I spend Saturday, Sunday with all kinds of kids, ages, 7 to 17. Some of them are a little bit younger. Some of them might be a couple years older. But essentially what I absolutely love that I found in LA is part of my actor side. As I explore that of an artist, I'm also exploring that of working with youth and empowering younger lives to believing and achieving whatever it is they want to dream. Because as a kid myself, I know that I absolutely wanted to be an actor. That was the end all be all. That's all I wanted to do. So thankfully for my mom and my dad, whenever I said I wanted to do this, they said yes. So thanks to God, thanks to them, everything that I ever wanted as a little kid has started to flourish and actually manifest before my eyes. So now I feel the sole purpose is continue what I want to do. Always chase those dreams, because if you follow them, that means you're going to be behind. But if you chase them, you have a chance to tackle them and really make it what you want. And part of what I absolutely love is being reminded about how much I do love acting and how much I do love being able to be free and try something new. Because you see a kid walk in that's never done this before, and their eyes light up, and maybe they're a little bit like this, maybe they're a little scared, maybe they're a little timid, and then at the end of a 20-minute workshop, they want to be on Disney Channel in season 3 of Stranger Things, so it's awesome. It's awesome. So right now my focus is is continuing that gift I've been given, that I'm very thankful for, to be able to work with youth and hopefully impart some of the wisdom and knowledge that I've received from people in my life, and just pass it on to them.
I love it. I love it. Thank you for that little intro. So we chose to do this just because, I mean, it's a theme, currently a theme for me right now is change and transition. Obviously, Dave and I just moved, and we're loving it so far.
Congratulations.
What?
So congratulations on your move.
Thank you. So this has kind of been my like theme of the month and of the last few months, and I picked Lucio to talk with me about it just because he does do so much work within the community. He is a really inspiring person just to everyone around him. And last year, like you went through a big transition when you moved to LA and stuff like that. And just to give you guys a sense, he's been really part of my family for how many years now? Like 5, 6? I don't know.
A while.
And I admire his spirituality so much, and his faith, and just the fact that he does chase his dreams and stuff like that. To the point where my husband and I like asked him to do the blessing at our wedding and stuff. And I think normally you're supposed to like ask the priest, but we were like, we want you to do it. So that just gives you a sense for, you know, how much he means to me and our family and stuff. So I figured you'd be the perfect person to come on here with me. So I guess we'll start, if you just want to start by talking a little bit about, when did you move? Was it over a year ago, right?
Over a year ago, last February.
Okay.
So February 23rd was my arrival date to Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Great. So I guess, so you've been there just a little bit over a year now. So what did you notice when you moved? And I guess like what kind of tools have you used so far to transition? And especially when you first got there, like it can be really scary.
Yeah.
So what kept you grounded and stuff, especially at the beginning, and sustained you like right when you got there?
You know, it was really crazy because I first of all packed 4 suitcases, got a one-way ticket, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to choose faith over fear because this is something that I've always wanted to do, and I never did it. And I really believe that the universe either forces you into a situation when you do not choose to do it yourself. It's almost kind of like they're going to throw you into the waters and expect you to have a boat and 2 oars and just say navigate, go for it. Don't worry about anything else, but you're going to be safe. So in that sense, I ditched all my winter clothes coming to Los Angeles.
Yes.
No one told me that in February in LA it's so cold. So I left all of my winter coats back in New York, and they're at Goodwill or somewhere else, some donation bin, and you know what, it's fine. So what I adjusted with most was wearing multiple layers. That was my first transition into LA, was like, oh, okay, it's not New York, but dang, it's cold. But as far as everything else, you know, I moved here without a car. And LA is a place where, you know, you do public transit if you can, and that's, you know, not New York. It's very wide, you know. So the first part of it was I was so used to the magnetic energy or the accessibility of walking out of my apartment in New York and being able to hop on a train 2 blocks away and get where I wanted to go. Well, here, I couldn't afford to have a car at the time. And I did commuting, public transit, Uber pools for a good 5 or 6 months before I finally got my car. My dad was very kind, and he came to visit me on his birthday and got me a car then. So I'm so grateful for him for that. That's so selfless and so loving. But I think the biggest thing was, you know, I moved here without prior knowledge of anybody else really being here from my tribe that I kind of developed and was so great to have in New York. So coming out as a free bird, you know, you're flying around and you hope to find just a strong flock that you can fly with. So the biggest thing was, as I got out here, it was, oh yeah, you can start to feel lonely, you know, and I can totally admit that because it's wide open, and especially if it's harder to get around. But I think the biggest thing was I knew that there was a reason I got out here, and the more that I reminded myself of that reason and what my purpose was, it was less scary every single day that I got up.
Yeah.
And in those moments where I felt maybe cabin fever, the only way I could cure that was to break it, right? So what I'm finding now is whenever I have those lulls or I have those dips, it's up to me to find a solution. And that can either be meditation, it can be prayer, it can be affirmations. I truly, truly do my best to go every single morning, waking up before my feet touch the ground, and give myself affirmations. You know, I tell myself 5 things I'm grateful for. You were that this morning.
Oh.
You were on my list. And I think, you know, in that whole transition, your magnet is open, right? And you have to allow whatever that magnet's going to receive. And you have to tell yourself and tell the universe, I want to meet people who are positive, who are driven, who are kind, who are loving. So that is what my magnet has to be. I have to raise my frequency now in this brand new world where I do not know anybody, to allow them to start coming to that magnetic field, to where both of you are kind of like, oh, wow, this is a chance encounter, but really it's serendipity, or really it's fate, or really it's divine. You know, I don't believe in coincidences. So for the first 6 months, it was, how can I make my commute 2 hours with peace? I've got a book on the bus.
Gosh,
I got
yeah.
music, you know. I listened to your beautiful sister, Joan. I had her on my iPod because there was no signal underground, so I just downloaded her songs,
She's my
you know.
music too.
Yes, I love it.
Love it.
It's amazing. It's amazing. So the biggest thing for me that I found is in those bouts of either, you know, doubt or fear or anxiety, you find something else to pull on. And I think once you start figuring out what those solutions are, it's easier to navigate. And thankfully now, within a year, I've met some truly wonderful people, and I've been blessed with having a tribe in LA. And I think the biggest and best thing is, whenever you go someplace new, just say hi. Say hi, because you never know who you're going to meet. And if you really want to attract that sense of community and that sense of welcoming, then be the one to say, I'm here and I'm ready to meet you. Because I think there's such an inviting energy with that, you know, and you carry that aura and energy. And I think the biggest thing is allowing my spirituality and my faith to break off that fear, to continue going.
Totally, absolutely. So something we're gonna throw out some tips and some just ideas we have about change and how to combat fear and stuff. But basically, just to kind of intro that, obviously, we all know that change is a constant, but we're not necessarily always aware of it. But we are always changing, and everything around us is always changing. Sometimes, and you kind of mentioned this, sometimes we choose change, sometimes
Mm-hmm.
chooses us. Um, so there's a little bit of difference in that, but either way, it can be really fear-based if we're not
Mm-hmm.
completely mindful of how we're taking it all in and reacting to it, or being proactive with it. Um, so there's a lot of fear involved, but at the same time, it's absolutely a huge period of growth and development. And like you said, meeting new people, finding your tribe wherever you are. And I was thinking about it this morning. It's an interesting time because a lot of people are graduating right now. And so
Yes.
it's like, I mean, you just moved, we just moved. Within the military community, there's a lot of people moving around right now. It's just one of those seasons. And then
Mm-hmm.
graduation and all that stuff, there's a lot of people having babies. So whether it's like positive change or something a little bit scarier, I think there's a way to make it a positive experience no matter what.
Absolutely.
Um, so we came up with a little list of ways, and I know you've already mentioned some stuff. I loved your idea about just like being open and being the one that says hi
Mm-hmm.
first, and like just waking up every morning and being ready to find your tribe and meet your people and attract them to you, and just being totally open to that. So I think another thing that we talked about with holding on to change, and you touched on this too, is having a faith practice or a
Mm-hmm.
practice. So, and not even necessarily something religious, but
Right.
anything that connects you to something higher or the universe or whatever that is bigger than, you know, our bodies, basically. So, and I know that's something you've kind of had throughout your whole life. So do you have any comments on that?
You know what? I think the biggest thing for me is I grew up in a very Catholic home and household, And I was raised that way, and I'll be truthful, you know, as I grow up and as a kid, I found it kind of boring. You know, I went to church and I was like, I'm tired, I'm sleepy, I just want to eat all the crackers that they give out, they call it Jesus, you know, and this is just me being super honest, but
Yeah,
I didn't understand the validity of how impactful that could have been. I think just because at that age, maybe it wasn't something that was necessarily taught, it was something that was expected. So I think now, whenever I have conversations with people, um, I believe that faith comes from something that you believe that there's no explaining of it. Faith is blind. Faith is something that, you know, you say, I'm going to go for this. I don't know what the outcome is, but I'm going to trust it's going to work out in my favor. That's blind faith, right? But as far as anything else, you don't have to be religious. You know, I sometimes go to my favorite hike on the Hollywood sign, but the first stop is called the Wisdom Tree. And there's these
I've
beautiful notes.
those.
Oh, it's so powerful. It's so powerful. They talk about you are loved and you are kind and you are capable of any possibility. And in those moments, that could be called spirituality. That could be called a beautiful note. It could be called a letter. You can call it whatever you want. But the fact that you stumble upon these things, right? That's amazing. But even if you don't happen to do that, you know, I recently learned something called earthing, where you just take your socks off, plant your feet in the ground, and connect with the universe, connect with the earth, actually feel what's underneath us, because that is what we walk on every single day.
Right.
And when we strip away these extra layers, when we strip away all of this stuff that may be perceived as like a blockage, once you are truly connected and allow yourself to give over, you're reminded about how we are all existing at the same time. All of us are existing. All of us. And whatever someone's dealing with is what someone's dealing with. Whatever someone else has as an issue, I might have as an issue, but maybe what they have is completely more severe than what my mind would think, and maybe vice versa. You know, so whether it is talking to God, talking to yourself, talking to a friend, talking to a tree, doing yoga, meditation, affirmations, mantras, there's always going to be something that is accessible. And what I would encourage everybody who's watching that maybe have struggled with this, but there's always a fear of, what if I do believe? Or there's that fear of, what if I try it and I actually kind of give over to it? I mean, a lot of times when I meet people, I have very good friends who range in all spectrums, who have zero faith or zero religious identity or whatever they call it. And to me, they're still very spiritual because they lead with love and they lead with kindness. So for me, I don't look at the exterior, but when I do meet people who are resistant or kind of have a strong experience of maybe something that they've been affected by, I think the biggest thing for me was fear. You know, I was always afraid as I got older to go to church because of who I was and my identification and everything else, that I thought it couldn't be, it wasn't possible. But that wasn't the case at all. And that's what my grandfather taught me. You know, my grandfather was Lucio, and so I take his name with honor and pride and more humility, I think, because he's so wonderful. But the only message he gave me, a deacon of the Catholic Church, was to love.
Oh, wow.
That's all he told me when I was 16, was all you have to do is love. And if you love, you're on the right path, you know? And I believe that the more that we can openly give over to that, then we're going to find those things that we resonate with, that, you know what, maybe dancing is my spirituality. Maybe putting on music and just going absolutely crazy is something that I am going to really feel so connected with, you know? And I think the more that we allow ourselves and give ourselves permission to explore, we are going to find something that maybe we've never experienced before. That's the part of change that I think is more fearful, because we want to get so stuck in our ways of like, well, this is my routine, this works for me.
Right.
Well, what if you tried something new? As you're going through your change, what if you tried something new? And what if, just what if, this works for you?
Right.
You know?
And what if you approach it with like a love-based attitude?
Absolutely.
How amazing. Like, even if it doesn't work, if you approach it based on love and from an attitude of love, then did it really not work? Like, right?
Exactly. And you know what? I think that's so beautiful, Bernadette, is love. At the end of the day, it's love. It doesn't matter what it is, who it is, what's it for, it is love. Because you know what? If I were to sit right now, and let's say I don't have any practice, but I'm sitting in my chair in my bedroom, right? And I'm over here and I'm like thinking, okay, if I actually were to believe in something, what's the worst that could happen to me? Absolutely nothing.
Right.
I'm still sitting right in this chair. The world is not going to open up and swallow me whole,
Right.
right? Nothing is going to change. Nothing is going to change. So the fact that I approach that with love and I just give it a shot, I'm not losing anything,
Right.
but I could be gaining a lot. And even if I don't, at least I'll know, wow, I allowed myself to explore something new. I've expanded in my possibilities.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Let's talk about gratitude.
Oh, let's talk about it. Look at this. This is a book I just recently got. Choosing Gratitude.
Yeah,
I have yet to start it.
it was fun.
But there was a, it's okay. So it's by Nancy Lee DeMoss, and it's a 30-day devotional. So basically, what this is how. Okay, so here we go. Abounding, overflowing, grace not only received and deposited, but daily withdrawn and multiplied. So the journey closer to the heart of God is choosing gratitude, essentially. So it's very spiritual based, and I believe there's like a follow of how to find your joy. But I think
Mm-hmm.
stuff like this also can be considered little, magical things to help us along. But gratitude, absolutely.
So, I know, I think you had a comment on this that you've been just making a bigger point recently. I don't know if it's just like over the last year or more recently than that, but to just be with gratitude more. So, what's your experience with that?
You know what? It's so interesting because, candidly, there was a point in my life recently where things just kind of went so great and then so down and then so up and then so down, and it definitely fluctuated with how I kind of just took a step back, and I
Yep.
I was at work one day and I was feeling a little low, and I'm the kind of person that if someone says how are you, I'm honest, and it's not, I don't think there's any shame in that because we're human. And at the end of the day, the more that we suppress anything that we truly feel, the harder it is to deal with it, I believe.
Yeah.
Because I think that the fear is asking for help or asking for advice or asking for something. But in that moment when I encountered somebody, she's a friend of mine, and I just told her, I'm feeling a little low today. I'm feeling a little this. And she goes, you know what? Whatever is going on, sometimes things happen to us that bring us all the way down because there might have been a situation or a time where we weren't truly grateful for everything that was happening. So sometimes those
Mm-hmm.
things will be taken away for us to learn how to be more appreciative. And then once we
Mm.
get that back, the good thing that we thought we had becomes 10 times better.
Wow, I just got chills. That's crazy.
And
I
and
love that. Yeah. That's,
I love that. And that was the thing where I took that home and I thought, you know what? Absolutely. Because when things start to get a little scary, a little hard, a little difficult, it doesn't mean that we stop being grateful, right? Even if we're like, oh my gosh, I have to pay this car ticket, or oh my gosh, I was late on my rent, or oh my gosh, my best friend and I are in a fight, whatever's going on.
mhm.
Those little small things can have the ability to take over our day.
Yeah.
Or we could say, but you know what? I'm grateful for the fact that I still am staying inside my home. I'm grateful for the fact that I can still find ways to mend this relationship with my best friend. I'm grateful that I can wake up in the morning and I can talk to you. I think the biggest thing of gratitude is in those most difficult moments where we are so upset. I was in the car yesterday and I had a moment,
Um,
and it wasn't that it was a bad moment, but it was those things of like, we start to think, we start to drift. But in that moment, I said, you know what? I'm grateful. I'm grateful.
mhm.
And then all of a sudden on the way home, it just became so much easier to navigate because the smallest things we overlook, the smallest things.
Yeah.
Did you eat today? Did you have a place to sleep? Were you able to have a conversation? I think gratitude comes in multiplication.
Mhm.
And the moment that we either compare or that we question or that we doubt or that we suppress all those things and say, this is not enough, or why did this happen to me, or how come this person hurt me? None of that is existing. The reality is, if something happens in your life, it's meant to teach you something.
Mhm.
And even if it hurts the heart, it's probably going to strengthen it tenfold. In that moment, we just don't realize it yet. So you know what? If we're still alive and we're still making it through, I'm so grateful that I got through that struggle and I learned that lesson, because now I can apply it to the next situation. I can apply it to tomorrow.
Mhm.
But when I remove the gratitude and when I remove what I'm grateful for, all those other small things that don't really matter cloud my mind. And I
Right.
don't want a rainstorm. I want double rainbow shining bright.
Oh yeah. I love it. I had a funny experience recently with gratitude. I'm reading a book called May Cause Miracles by Gabby Bernstein.
Oh, Gabby, she's such a spiritual person on Instagram. I've seen her stuff all the time.
Oh my god, I love her. Her book is good too.
Okay.
So
I follow her on the Insta stories.
yeah, she's amazing. Oh my god. Okay, little plug. We have no relationship to her, but anyone that needs like spiritual inspiration, Gabby Bernstein.
Gabby.
So she, in her book May Cause Miracles, it's kind of, I think, similar to the one that you're reading, but she gives little 40 days of like little practices to, and it's funny because I haven't even like gotten through the whole book. I kind of do one exercise for like a week and then I move on to the next one, but it's actually been really cool. So right before we moved, I was teaching my last class on bass and stuff, and it was a Friday morning, and my Friday morning class is at 5:30. So I would get up at 4 and like leave the house at 4:30 and go do my class, and it was so early, but I think like gratitude was one of the things that got me through that was because I loved that group, and like the people that are there for 5:30 yoga are there for 5:30 yoga. Like they are not messing around, right? So so the exercise for that day was the affirmation or whatever was, my only attitude today is gratitude, or like something like that. I think I paraphrased it. But so she has you, like, part of her exercise is you type it into your phone and you have it like pop up throughout the day and stuff to remind you until it becomes like more of a habit. So I go out at 4:30 in the morning. My car won't start, right? It's my last day of teaching, and I was like, oh my god. So I'm like, what? Like no one's awake to jump my car right now. So I had to go wake up Dave, and just be like, can you take me there? And it was his last day of work too. So like we ended up, and like I don't know, we had a bunch of like frustrating things happen that whole morning and like that whole day. So basically like he had to get up at 4:30 and take me to my class, and then we had to wait and like sit in a parking lot until his office opened, and then I went to work with him for like 4 hours, and then we had to leave early to go to my other class. Like it was crazy. But so I went through this whole like morning, and my car was so kind of new, so I was like, oh my god, why is this happening? And I think I had been nervous that whole week about like, I'm gonna cry, I'm gonna be really upset in class. So it was kind of funny that all this stuff was happening because it was like distracting me and almost like pulling me back of like, everything's okay, it's just another yoga class, like whatever. But so after that whole morning of like trying to figure out how to get there and all that stuff, I get to my class, my phone beeps, and it's my little gratitude reminder, and I was like, oh man, you're right. And I was like, you know, I am grateful to just be here teaching my class, and like I'm grateful that my husband got up with me, drove me in, that we were able to organize it in a way so that we could both get to work. I could still teach all my classes that day. He could still get to work, get all his stuff done. And it was funny because like stuff kind of kept happening that day. And every single time it would pop up on my phone, my only attitude is gratitude. And I was like, darn it. It was like I wanted to be annoyed and mad. And like, I just couldn't. I was like, no, I'm committing to this. Nope. I'm grateful for all that I have to like, and it was insane. It was like the perfect day for that to be the exercise because I wanted so badly to throw myself a pity party, and I just chose not to because it wasn't the plan. The plan was gratitude. So, it really does.
I think that's amazing.
Isn't that crazy?
I think that's incredible. But those are the moments where you really take on the gratitude, though. You know, it's like all this stuff happens, and then all of a sudden you're like, wait a second, no, and then beep beep. You know, it's like a little angel wink.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, never mind, I'm grateful. Fine. Oh my gosh. Cool. So gratitude is a big one.
Gratitude's huge. And I think that's, you know, listen, all those kind of moments too that happen, I always tell myself like, okay, if I miss my exit, maybe that was preventing a car crash, you know, or if I'm late to work, maybe that's because something would have happened on the, you know, it's like it's always that mindset of, oh my gosh, as opposed to, oh, there's a reason for that.
Right.
And someone recently told me this too, and one of my girlfriends in New York, she told me this quote, and she said, I believe that everything that happens to me in life is rigged in my favor.
I love it. I love that.
Everything. I thought, wow, huh,
Yeah.
okay,
What if
you
we
know.
all had that mindset, right?
Could you imagine? Could you imagine if, like, you know, it's crazy because I mean, it's a process. I definitely feel it's a process,
Yeah.
and candidly, I took an acting class last night, and they talk about how we're human, and we always have to maintain this positivity, and we always have to do this, and it's all the kind of stuff. And she said, but you know, you're human. You have to feel those things, otherwise you're not going to function. And she said that's a trap somewhere where you have to release it. And so I think in that sense, for me, it's okay. I'm reminding myself to be positive. I'm reminding myself to do this. But the other day, I realized, when I was in the car, I would just sing my lungs out, or I would scream, or I would dance like very violently, you know.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you feel that trappedness, or you feel something that's holding you back, let it go. Sometimes you do have to find a release for that. And it's not directed towards a person, but maybe towards a thing, you know. And
Yeah.
I think good things are like going running, going hiking, rock climbing, yoga, you know, doing something that's going to expel all of that energy that we feel.
Yeah.
And then the moment that we let it all go, it's escape from our bodies.
Mm.
It's no longer in us anymore. That anger, that anxiety, or that frustration is kind of like, oh, well, I expelled it. I didn't harm myself. I didn't harm anybody else. And now I can get back to my body because there's nothing that I'm trying to maintain.
Right.
Instead, I now need to release.
Right.
And that's what I'm only recently learning now,
Mm.
actually, probably in the last like month or so, is that we're allowed to be human, and that we're allowed to
Yeah.
feel. And once we identify where it's coming from and what triggered it, we know the reactions that we have. Because I feel a lot of people say, well, it's hard to control your emotions. True, I believe that. I believe everyone has emotions, but it's how you control your reactions, right?
Oh yeah.
It's how it's my dad always says, it's not about the person that comes to you with the issue, it's how you come back to that person with the issue.
Mm-hmm.
People are always not watching the first one, they're watching how you react. They're seeing how you deal with a person. And the best thing that I've heard recently is, it's would you rather be right or rather get what you want? And I think the ego is wanting to always be right.
Yep.
But if you just want to make amends or make peace, make your peace and walk away knowing that it's okay, that things are fine.
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely love the little pops up of gratitude, because I did that once and that was magical. I think I'm going to take that from you and maybe do that again.
It really is magic. Like when I look at my phone, I'm like sometimes I'm like, darn it, I can't be mad, and then other times, wow, I really needed that. Like,
Yeah.
it's my
Yeah.
choice now. It's cool. Okay, couple other things. And you mentioned this, asking for help. This is something I never used to do, but
Same.
really recently, like, and especially with this move, I had awesome friends and family that were like, oh, we'll come over and help you pack and we'll drink wine and stuff. I would have never said yes to that. But I was like, all right, come help me pack.
Yeah.
It's so, I mean, we aren't here together for no reason, I think. I think we're here
Absolutely.
to be here together. And it was kind of same when we got here. Like, our neighbors came over and they were like, oh, we'll help you unload the truck. And like, generally I would have been like, no, it's okay. Like, but I was like, sure, if you guys have like 20 minutes, like, we would love to help, and we're
Amazing.
like good friends with them now. You know what I mean?
That's amazing. And you just moved in. How incredible is that?
I know. They're so sweet. And I think if we hadn't accepted like help from them or like advice on recommendations, restaurants, whatever, it we wouldn't have necessarily connected with them as quickly and stuff like that. But I think whether it's like asking for help actually doing things, or even just reaching out for references or anything. I mean, I think it's really important to get out of your own way and just let people help you, right?
1,000%. And you know what? The biggest thing that I realized is I can only speak in my experience. I've learned that when I say we or people, that's a generalization. And I'm not everybody but me. So in my experience, I'm just like you, Bernadette. I believe that in the past, I was the independent kid that was like, oh, I can do it all. And if I can't, I'll find a way. But I'd rather suck it up, keep my mouth shut, and find my solution to say, look what I could do. Look, I did it, right?
Yeah.
Um, but in reality, though, I'm only one person. And in order to build a village, you have to have a community of people that do different things. You know,
Right.
I can't be a welder and a sculptor and a plumber. And I mean, there's so many things that I'm not capable of. And I think if I break that down more so, if I'm dealing with something or I need something, the only way I'm going to get it is by asking. And again, I'll go back to my dad. He taught me something. He said, what would be the worst thing if you ask somebody help? The answer is no. But the best case, they say yes. And if you get that yes, then you've got it, right? So I think for me, I had to really, with his help, break the fear of walking up and asking for help. And eventually, once I started getting yeses and started getting that help or that support, I thought, wow, because it's not that I'm asking for it for a selfish desire. It's because I know that if someone were to ask me,
Right.
I would say yes. And I have to put myself in that situation. When my friends come to me for anything or doesn't matter who it is, could be a stranger, you know, but if I'm willing to do that to somebody, for somebody, then I know someone's willing to do that for me. And I'm not going to feel anything less than grateful or thankful for them.
Right.
You know, and I think it's being able to say, you know what, right now, I need a little bit of help. And I will tell you, recently, I've had a beautiful tribe of my friends, both in LA, both in New York, that have helped me through something that I'm so grateful for, you know? And it's one of those things where it's just a conversation. And it can be something where, also too, we moved in, and this is the first time my bed has been on risers.
Yeah.
But my roommates helped me. I was in my room, like, I know, I was laying on the floor, and they were like, well, where's your poles? I was like, well, I think I lost the screws. And my roommate was like, don't worry, we can put this together. So both of them were in here doing HGTV, makeshifting, you know, my legs for my bed. And in that moment, it was something so small, but it was something that I was so appreciative of and so grateful for, you know? And I think the biggest thing is we all need help. We all need help, all of us. And when we can remove the ego or remove the pride or remove the look of how it's going to feel, it might make you feel some vulnerability, but what it really actually does is it strengthens the person that you're doing it with. It strengthens that relationship. So if anything, you now become a confidant. You now become someone that is trusting of somebody else, and you realize you're not alone. No one is alone.
And I think too, like when you think about when you're the person that has the opportunity to help somebody and how good you feel and you know you feel like you've contributed and done something for someone other than yourself today, that's like a true gift. And like so when you're don't know no to people, you're kind of taking that away from people. You know?
Yeah.
Like people want to feel like they're part of something and like, you know, they helped someone and so that's like a way that I've thought about it more recently too is like I need it and it when I am able to help other people it feels really good for me and I feel you know fulfilled by that and hopefully other people do too so
You know what? That is so true because when I was a kid, my aunt, she taught me something. She was like, I'm gonna let you I'm gonna treat you to lunch, but you have to work for it, right? You have to vacuum or something. So it's like, okay. But even then I felt a little awkward because I was like, well, you know, whatever, I vacuumed and stuff. But then she took me to dinner and she's like, I'll buy you this. And I thought, you know what? No, it's okay. I have my money. And I think I was like 9 or something. But again, I was that young that I was like, no, it's okay. I'll pay for it myself.
right
And she was like, listen, I want to do this.
yeah
Please do not deny me the ability to do this for you.
right
All you have to do is say thank you.
right the privilege of giving your time or your you know abilities or your finances or whatever it is like it really is a gift for people to be able to give that
Yes.
to others.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
love that story.
And it's just like learning to say thank you. And I think again that was a moment of gratitude where I was being taken care of, and maybe because I didn't know how that feeling resonated with me, or the feeling of getting the extra help was, in that moment I learned gratitude because she didn't let me fight her on it. She just said, your response in the future when someone wants to treat you is say thank you.
Yeah. Love that.
So now I'm like, it's like, okay, thank you for the blessings. If I can do something, I'll do it. And if it doesn't matter who it is, but again, what you said, it's like, now I take that with my friends everywhere. If someone's doing something for you, don't reject it. Just say thank you.
Right. Just say thank you. Yeah.
Just say thank you.
Accept the help or whatever.
Yes.
Gift it.
Accept that help, and accept that gift that someone wants to share with you, and accept the love that they are sharing with you as well.
Yeah. Love it. Love it.
1000%.
Okay, one last thing I want to talk about before we wrap it up is values, and how, like, change. It is so easy to just want to, you're surrounded by totally different people and all this stuff. So, like, what do you think about, like, I guess, how do you stay solid in your values and honor them, even though you're in a different place with different people, maybe, or even just like in a new job or whatever it may be? Do you have any comments on that?
Yes. So, oh boy, do I have the comments. But I believe that we all have something we believe in, and we have something called integrity. And that integrity, I think, is an umbrella for the things that we hold true to ourselves. It could be our morale, it could be our beliefs, it could be our stance, it could be our activism, it could be something. But I think, in my experience in LA, I moved here with knowing what I wanted, knowing what I wanted to do, knowing the people I wanted to surround myself with, or knowing the person I would want to choose to spend more time with, And I think in those moments, we meet people that challenge us in those morals and challenge us in those values.
Yeah.
And I recently had a huge shift where, I was questioned of what I believed in and stuff. And it wasn't that I don't think that I changed, but I think what I did was it started to change my forms of habit. It started to change my practices, or something that I constantly did. And then once this phase ended, it became a thing where I was like stepping back saying, wait a second, you knew you believed in this, you knew you loved this, you knew you wanted to do this. Where did you start to distance from that? Or where did you start to find yourself getting somewhere drawn away from that, right? And I think in those moments, if anything, it actually makes me believe in what I believe in tenfold.
Right.
Because sometimes you're going to meet people who give you everything, that give you so much more of your spirituality and your faith, or give you so much of your confidence. And I believe that everybody that I've met so far in LA has given me such a beautiful gift. And I'm so grateful for every encounter I've had, for every person I've shared my time with. And I believe in those moments, I will continue to think about what I believe in, but when it's challenged is when I really start to identify what those values and beliefs are. And when I start feeling less of myself, it's because I'm not doing those things that I recently did before. And so now I'm again in this new phase where I come back to my beliefs, I come back to my values, and I remind myself, this is important to me. This is authentic to me. What am I happy to sacrifice, if anything, to not be my true authentic self? If I have to sacrifice something, if I have to deny myself something for somebody else or something else, then that is not meant for me, because it's not true within me. And the hard part, I believe, is knowing when you have to honor that part of you that may or may not align with somebody else, and say, it is okay. It is okay. And the thing that I'm learning is, the more true that I stick with that, the more that I'm able to live in this world where I have more gratitude, I have more faith, I am more positive. But then I also start meeting the same people that are more aligned with what I have. When I start to lose my values, stop practicing those things that I do, I meet people that, are similar to that. And I do believe that they say, you can show me your 5 friends and I will tell you who you are. You show me who you hang out with, and I will tell you more or less of who you are, right? And I start to remind myself, okay, well then who am I always spending my time with? And if it's
Right.
with myself, who am I spending my time with? You know,
Right.
truly. So I believe that, we all have something we believe in, and the only thing that I can encourage, and again, this is also encouraging myself as
I know.
I encourage.
This is my
Um,
first.
I'm like, this is also for me too, right? But I encourage that you always lead with what you believe in, and you always lead with what feels right to you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of times sacrifices and compromises can be made for a lot of things, as long as it does not deny you the ability to fully live as you live with who you are,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think what I've learned a great deal of is reevaluating my morals, reevaluating my values, more or less just reevaluating me and asking myself, what would honor me? What would honor my spirit?
Yeah.
Would my ego want this for something, or would my spirit grow from wanting this?
Mm-hmm.
You know? So I do think it's a constant conversation that I have with myself, but
Yeah.
the greatest thing is having that foundation of, well, I know this is where I live normally, right? So how often can I live here? And when I start to feel it different, when do I come back? How do I come back? Where do I navigate? And what is that one thing that constantly pulls me back to my true center?
Yeah.
You know, and it's the reminder of, well, this is my soul mission. And is this, someone said this to me recently again, think of your life in the future. One of my very good friends in Florida.
Mm.
Think of your life in the future. What you're doing right now and what you've done every single day, does that future image of you exist? If the answer is no, then you're not doing those things every day to get what that future you looks like.
Mm.
And if you want to create that future image of you, that fantasy, what can you do today that allows that manifestation of what you believe in your mind's eye to unfold? Part of that does come with, well, if I want that, how do I get there authentically
Mm-hmm.
and lovingly and kindly and so me that it's undeniable that this is my path, this is my calling, but this is what I have to honor of myself.
Right. Like, what am I doing every moment that is part of my mission? Love.
And just kind of keep sailing, you got to keep sailing. And again, I think the best thing is being challenged by it. I think when you're shaken is when you really start to ask yourself, does this really mean something to me? Is this really important to me? If the answer is yes, then that was a lesson that we needed to learn.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about lessons. And my other good friend says this. I mean, again, I'm sharing all this stuff that I've learned. I feel like the wisdom does not come from anything other than magic in the air and
Yeah.
and people that I've met. But he said, my good friend said, I do not lose. I either win or I learn.
Mm-hmm. And I
And
think,
I thought,
yeah, that's so powerful. And I think that goes back to gratitude too, of like, even if something doesn't work, or even if you do find yourself like in a setback, um, you kind of find a way to be grateful for it. And part of that is finding what the lesson is. You
yes,
know, like it all ties in. Like I'm grateful for this setback or this challenge because XYZ is what I learned from it.
absolutely.
I love
And that's it. And that's when you really realign that. I think that's it's a constant thing that I do myself.
it.
Always step back. What was my lesson? And then say, "Whew, thank you for that lesson." I
Yeah.
just have to be thankful for it. Because hey, if I didn't learn it now, then I don't know what would happen in the future. And very small thing about just like the regrets and stuff. People will ask, do you have any regrets? And I say, absolutely not.
Mm,
No, because if I regretted it, then I wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have learned. I wouldn't have moved on.
right.
But whatever happened in that moment, I was meant to do.
Mm,
And if I feel that that's something that's not honoring to me, then it's easy to say, I won't do it again.
right.
It's as simple as that.
Right. But you kind of honor the experience by saying, okay, this was meant for me, and this is what I,
Yeah,
and I either will do that again or I won't.
exactly. And I think that's where I take from, especially right now in this phase of like, okay, you know what? I accept these things that have happened.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm grateful for the things that have happened because I've learned, I've grown, I've loved, and I'd rather have done that than nothing at all.
Yeah. I love it. All right, so I just want to wrap this up. So any like final notes? I mean, I think the things we touched on were some ways to stay grounded is by just leading with love, going with love, always being grateful for whatever comes. Um, any other like summarizations or
I mean, the only thing that I could say is, when I teach my kids, I tell them, look, I can't tell you what to do. It's not my job, not my place. I also am not responsible. I can't tell anybody what to do. The only thing that I'm capable of is encouraging. So anyone that watches or who's watching, again, this is all for me too. It's like
yeah.
speak it to exist, but speak it for ourselves. I encourage that you always honor yourself and you always love yourself, because at the end of the day, you go to bed with yourself, you wake up with yourself, and even if you're married or with a spouse, you're still waking up in your body. You're still waking up in this vessel. And we've been given such a beautiful gift to experience this thing called life, that regardless of the situation, something is going on in someone else's life. And remind yourself that what, these little things that come in and out are all part of it. And I think the best thing is to enjoy it. And in those moments of struggle and those moments of maybe something called fear, that you push past it with something called faith. And I think what I would encourage is that you honor yourself, you love yourself, and you be kind. Just always, always, always be kind, because that comes from a place of love, and that's what it really is anyway. And you never know who you're going to meet when you lead with love, and you never know what person you're going to encounter. But at the end of the day, this is what we are given. This is it. So why not love this unconditionally and know that we are all loved, that all of us are loved, that we are all divine, beautiful, magical entities and people worthy of everything our heart desires, and we are so capable of any possibilities in this world. We have to remind ourselves, if someone can do it, so can I. And if someone hasn't done it, then maybe it's my turn.
Right. Love that.
That's it. Be kind, everybody. Just love things.
Well, thank you so much for coming on with me.
Oh, thank you, Bernadette. This has been amazing. You are wonderful, and I affirm you. I think what you're doing, I was telling my roommate, I said, I'm going Facebook Live with my very good friend Bernadette. She's like my sister. She has this clothing line. I said, but it's not just your clothing line. It's your messages. And I wake up and I see your messages about how to sparkle and gratitude. And I tell you what, I mean, you have a gift. You have the gift of doing this practice of yoga, but also doing this practice of self-healing and gratitude and celebration. And I think the best thing about what you do, and it reaches all the way to me in California, is your little messages are love notes. I think they're little love notes that we receive, and I'm grateful to receive them. So I acknowledge you and I affirm you in all that you're doing, because I think what you're doing is so much greater than you possibly imagine.
Oh, thank you so much. And I feel so highly of you, and I'm really happy that we were able to make this work on Facebook Live after some
Yeah.
But I just want to say thank you so much. And, I really think you're the type of person who leads by example and just leads a life that people really look up to, myself included. And so you were obviously the first person I thought of when I was like, I think I want to do an inspiring chat about change. You really were the only person that, stuck out, that I was like, I think, you would have some really wonderful things to say. And I put a lot of weight on your way of living and just your things that you have to say. So thank you very, very much for being here with me today.
Oh no, thank you. Thank you.
I'm really excited for you with everything you're doing and inspired by all of your work and stuff like that. So I'm happy.
I love you, Bernadette.
I love you too. I'm happy that we're on the earth at the same time.
I know, we are existing at the same time. Thank you, universe.
Anyway, so for whoever's watching, if you guys have questions, please leave them in the comments and we will chat it up with you. Thank you so much, Lucio, for being around. to do this with me, and for everyone that's watching, we hope this has just been as inspiring for you guys as it has been for me, and I think you as well.
Totally for me. Totally,
So
totally. What a way to start the day, right? Oh my gosh, happy Thursday.
yeah, can we do this every Thursday?
Yeah, right. I'm like, I'll just come on live to watch. I don't care who you have. I'm just
I
like, this is great.
know.
I'll be like, this is great. This is what I need.
All right. Well, I love you and have the best
I love.
day.
Thank you. You too, and enjoy your home. I'm so happy to hear that you and your neighbors are friends now, and I am blessing your home all the way from
Oh,
California.
thank you. Okay. Love you. I can't wait to talk to you soon.
Love you. Talk to you soon. Have a wonderful time. Tell Dave hello for me, and I love him too.
I will.
Okay.
All right, guys.
All right.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody. Bye.